All right, today we are trying to answer a very complex question. How are new plant varieties developed and proliferated? That's what we're trying to answer today. This is by the Minneapolis Public Schools, published all the way back in 1960. And some of you might recognize this from, what was it called? How Much Does Life Depend on Its Environment? This is another presentation from that series. So this should be good. We should be familiar with our presenter, and we should learn something very interesting. Again, how are new plant varieties developed and proliferated? That's what we're trying to answer today. Let's dive in. They just gave us straight up 20 seconds for us to read that title. I don't know if we needed that much time. What type of plant is this? I'm trying to look. I don't recognize even what type of plant this is. Dude, this guy, what was this guy's name? Oh, I have no idea.
The other day I read about a man who inherited a lot of money. Now, it isn't everybody that...
Again, his presentation style, the presentation styles of people back then was just so off-puttingly, weird. I don't know. It wasn't as efficient as entertainment is now. He was just, I don't know, spitballing with that first statement, it seems like.
Does inherit any money, but inheritance is a very common thing.
Inheritance, see already, inheritance is a very common thing, so we're trying to start talking about genetics and genetic inheritance. All right, so that's what we're getting at here with this little pre-discussion topic. Look at his mic on his look at his mic too. Geez, this is such a funny looking mic. What's so funny about this mic is I still can barely hear this guy over the background static.
For instance, I've inherited something, you've inherited something, and even plants have inherited something. And by the end of our lesson, I think you'll be able to tell us what it is you have inherited.
This guy, I don't know what it is about this guy. I think it's just that he's not a trained communicator. There's just something so funny about the way he's delivering all of these lines. He reminds me of Will Wheaton for some reason. An adult, current age Will Wheaton is what he's reminding me of for some reason.
I have a diagram of a plant here.
That's a diagram of a plant? You could have fooled me. You could have told me this is a diagram of an alien from Mars or something, and I would have believed you. What plant? What plant is this? Let me know that. Is this an actual plant, or is this a diagram of a plant?
The male portion of the plant produces pollen.
The male portion of the plant produces pollen. Interesting. So we are sort of getting into the weeds of it then.
The pollen combines with an egg to form a seed. A seed?
Dude, the focus on this keeps going. Did that happen on the last time we watched one of these too? The focus puller kept messing up or something? I feel like we're going to deal with that again here. The focus keeps going in and out.
Is a new individual.
Why is somebody even touching the lens right now? Nobody should even be changing the focus. We're looking at a still image. No one touch the lens, please.
Now, how can this pollination take place? Pollen from the same flower.
That was somebody touching the lens. I know some of these are just mistakes or whatever, but that was somebody purposefully changing the focus of the lens.
Can combine with the egg. We call this self-fertilization. Or pollen from another flower may combine with this egg. And this would be cross-fertilization. Pollen from another flower combining with an egg of another flower. That's cross-fertilization.
Cross-fertilization. So what's just regular fertilization is when a flower fertilizes itself, but then cross-fertilization is just when flowers fertilize one another. Interesting. Do you guys remember, what was it? What was the program that we got to see how pollen impregnates the ovaries or whatever? What program was that? Growth of a Plant? Was that Growth of a Plant? I think so. That was crazy. I still think about that.
A man who studied heredity quite a little was Gregor Mendel.
Gregor Mendel, yeah, all right. So we're touching on like the basics of Bio 101 right now. Gregor Mendel. We're gonna do what, the Punnett squares, the A, the P's, right? All the P's, the green peas and the yellow peas.
He lived about 100 years ago, and he had a small garden.
What did he grow in the garden? Let me know. What did he grow?
In this garden,
Was it pea plants?
he had plants of the common vegetable pea plant.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I know my stuff. I have attended high school biology as well.
He noticed that some of these plants were tall.
Wow, so this really is, we are getting like the high school biology lesson right now. Like we are doing Gregor Mendel's pea plants. Like this is the, yeah, for high school science class, like this is the like lesson. I don't know. This is what teaches kids about like genetics and alleles and like all the crossing of genes and stuff. This is the classic example. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Gregor Mendel did figure this all out using pea plants, but it's just like, it's so interesting to see a lesson that I was given in high school being given by, I think this guy is a high school teacher, just like, 60 or 80 years prior to the time I received that lesson. It's crazy that our high schools have been teaching this pea plant lesson for pretty much their entire existence.
And others were short.
Again, it's just crazy that I'm watching this old program and I've had this exact lesson taught to me before as well.
Now Mendel took seeds from these plants. They self-pollinated. That is, pollen.
They self-pollinated. All right, so there's cross-fertilization and then there's self-pollination. Got it.
Combined with the egg in the same flower to produce a new seed. And as long as he planted these seeds, he got nothing but tall plants.
I love the unscripted nature of this presentation as well. Like you can very clearly tell this is not a memorized speech. This is him giving a lesson that he has given before to a classroom full of children. Again, he is a science school teacher for Minneapolis. So you have to understand that like he is not a professional communicator. Well, I guess he is a teacher, but he's not a professional on-camera communicator. I feel like that's what's making him nervous. I feel like I can tell that he is nervous, and it's not because he's teaching this material. I'm pretty sure he is very well versed in this material. I think it's the camera that's getting to him. But I find that so fascinating.
And the same occurred with the short plant. Always he got short plants from the seeds that he planted.
But they are also giving this to us at like such a basic level. Like I feel like a first grader could be learning this lesson alongside me.
In other words, when Mendel then thought,
like again, like just his like actual flubs, like this is clearly not scripted.
why don't we try and cross these two plants and see what happens? Mendel wondered what he would get.
He's also just like so soft-spoken, which, I appreciate. I appreciate a soft-spoken man. It's just like not the personality I would have chosen to give these sorts of presentations, but this guy might have been doing this like on his own volition. Like this might be his production. I don't know.
What he would get. Would he get short plants? Medium-sized plants?
I should tell you guys, actually, I think you guys will find this really interesting, all right? So there is a little bit more information about this guy in this program on the Internet Archive. And I just want to read to you guys like the most interesting bit of information I found from this. All right, so I'm going to read the description from the Internet Archive. The videos in this series were originally stored in their metal cans in the basement of Richard Rumppe. And this guy presenting, this is Richard Rumppe. Richard Rumppe is the school teacher who made all these programs, and he stored this film program that we're watching right now in his basement. Like this is his production. So it's not just that he was an actor or a presenter in a TV program. He put together this TV program. The guy that we are watching give this presentation is the school teacher who put this presentation together so that he could show people at schools. And he stored this film in his own house. So we are very much getting an intimate relationship with Richard Rumppe by watching these.
Plants or all tall plants.
Kind of unrelated to what we're learning about. I just thought that was interesting.
Now Mendel then said that something was being covered up, since the pollen came from the tall plants, represented by capital T.
Oh, I do remember the T's. I was about to say, like, weren't the P's supposed to be yellow or green, not tall or short? Like, I feel like there were a lot of different characteristics that Mendel tested for, but I kind of forgot about the tallness aspect. But now I'm remembering the capital T and the lowercase t from this example. So yeah, I feel like this is common now.
And since it had two characteristics, one from its pollen, one from its egg, and the short plant also had two characteristics for shortness, Mendel said that the tall characteristic was dominant over the short characteristic, which he said was recessive. Now, what did he mean by dominant and recessive? By a dominant characteristic, we mean that characteristic which covers up.
So yeah, when the dominant crosses with the recessive, it produces a whole bunch of heterozygous individuals, right? Heterozygous? Yeah, not homozygous. Heterozygous. All of them are capital T, little t. Capital T is dominant, so they're all tall. But then you can cross these plants, these heterozygous plants, with one another, and they will have 75% are tall, but then 1/4 of their offspring. If you mixed them perfectly, 1/4 of their offspring would be short again.
Or masks out.
1/4 of their offspring would be tall, tall. 1/2 of their offspring would be tall, short, and then 1/4 again would be short, short. Short, short, yeah, short shorts.
Another characteristic. In this case, the shortness of this plant was masked.
Should I spoil it for you guys? I'm trying to exemplify that I understand this lesson thoroughly before even being taught it. But I hope that I'm not just like ruining it for you guys.
By the tallness in this plant. Now, since this plant was used for pollen and this plant was used for the egg, we'd find that every plant would have a tall characteristic.
Yeah, all are going to have big T and little t. They're all heterozygous. But just pay attention to how long it takes for him to teach us this, right? Like, we have to watch him put the tiles down for each one of these, which, if this was made today, those would just appear there. We would not have needed to watch this guy put the tiles on the presentation board for like 10 seconds.
And a short characteristic.
Oh god, yeah, now he has to put the little ones on as well. See, like, that's what's so funny about these old editing styles. It's just how much time they were meant to take up. Like, back then, people weren't bored by watching him put the tiles on the board, but just because of my, like, science communication editing brain, like, I am feeling the audience be bored watching this. Like, if I was editing this, I would have cut this part out completely.
What is the dominant characteristic? Tallness. It covers up the short characteristic. Mendel called these plants a hybrid.
Hybrids, yeah, I feel like, I don't know, heterozygous, that's like the official term, but yeah, hybrids, I guess, is what you would just initially call these sorts of things.
That is, a plant which differs when we cross two plants with different characteristics, we get a hybrid.
Again, like, you can very clearly tell this isn't scripted, but I appreciate hearing him figure out how to say it, because I feel like I very much respect that skill, like the ability to say scientific statements perfectly, accurately, off the top of your own head. Like, that is very much a skill that we need to appreciate. Like, when I present for Atlas Pro, I have a script 100% of the time. Like, unless I'm out in a forest somewhere, I am reading off a script that I wrote. So, like, I very much respect this guy just giving a whole 20-minute long presentation with no script whatsoever. That is actually impressive. Even if there are moments where he forgets what he's saying. But the fact that this is just one uncut presentation all on his own is just very impressive, actually.
Across tall and short, this is a hybrid. Mendel next crossed two of the hybrid plants. This time,
Yeah, I already said what's going to happen when you cross the hybrids, but yeah, let's just watch. Let's just watch.
he got 3 tall to each short plant. Perhaps we can see why.
Yeah, I said that. 1 tall is going to be double tall, 2 talls are going to be heterozygous tall, and then the 1 is just going to be all lowercase.
If we use this plant for pollen and this plant for the egg,
Does it matter? Does it matter which plant you use for the pollen and which one you use for the egg? I don't think so, because it's still perfectly evenly or perfectly randomly mixed, right? Especially when they're both heterozygous, at least it doesn't matter, right? Unless one of these is tied to like the gendered, I don't know, are pea plants gendered? I don't think so.
this tall characteristic could combine with this tall characteristic to produce this kind of a plant. Or this tall characteristic could
Yeah, again, like we don't need to see this for every individual plant. Like we get the idea. Maybe school children in the 70s or 60s didn't, but like I definitely understand.
could combine with this short characteristic to produce this plant. Or the tall characteristic in this egg could combine with the short characteristic in the pollen. Or 2 short characteristics from the pollen and from the egg could combine.
I do like really appreciate how soft-spoken he is, actually. That is making this viewing experience like a little nicer. Just like he's real chill, you know? Like I'm not racing to take down notes. Like I have plenty of time to take notes, which I guess is a very good presentation method, right? Especially if this is meant to be shown to kids in a classroom. Like give them time to take notes. I guess that's the empty space in this production, is for the school kids to take notes down. Okay, I guess I get it now.
Let's see what has happened here. We found that we had a characteristic of dominance and recessiveness, and that the dominance masked or covered up the short characteristic.
What grade did this guy teach? Because it seems like he's teaching like 5th graders or something. Like just based on the pace he's going and like his attitude, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, what age would you learn this lesson? I learned this in like 8th grade, so I must have been like 13.
Which was recessive. And that this
Did I learn this in 8th grade? I might have learned this in 7th grade, actually. Yeah, I think I learned this in 7th grade.
These plants, which had both characteristics, would be called hybrids. The plants which had pure characteristics for tall or for short would not be hybrids. They would be pure for the trait that they carried.
Pure. I don't think we use that word anymore. Pure to describe homogeneous genes, I guess. Describing homogeneity in your genes as purity is a bit of a slippery slope, I guess.
Mendel also worked with the garden, in his garden with...
Just watching him bobble these lines, though, again, does just make me laugh every time. It makes me so glad that I'm capable of editing out my own mistakes like this.
4 o'clock flowers. These flowers normally are red and white. But he didn't get...
How long was that pause that he just took? Like, that was a 3-second long pause.
characteristics which were tall, or which were dominant, or recessive, but instead...
Again, you gotta respect him for, again, this is one big take that he's doing. This is not like a cut presentation. This is one uncut presentation. So like, you gotta respect him for catching his own mistakes and correcting himself on the spot like this. Like, the more I watch, the more I am impressed with his ability to present information.
But instead he got a blend, a mixture. no color, completely covered up the other one.
Oh, great. We're talking about colors again. Colors in a black and white program. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun visual explanation to learn from. He just looked like he was about to say something but decided against it. Like, this is just so funny seeing like him decide for himself in real time what to do. Like, I'm pretty sure he is running this production. Like, he stored this in his basement. So like, I think these are his films, you know, like he's making all of this. Like, he must have hired a cameraman to follow him around this set for him to give these presentations.
He began by taking red.
Oh, great. Yeah, we are doing a color demonstration. Great. Fantastic.
4 o'clock flowers and combining them or crossing them with white 4 o'clock flowers.
I mean, at least one of them is just white. All right, so the darker one is red, the whiter one is white, obviously. At least this makes a little intuitive sense. But they look almost identical in black and white still.
We'll take pollen from this flower and fertilize the egg of this flower.
It's just like, it's such a shame that this is a good demonstration of genetics, just not in the era when all you can show is black or white.
In other words, this plant...
These kind of look like morning glories, if you ask me. I have a bunch of morning glories, and these kind of look like them.
Pure characteristics of being red, one from each of its parent. He had planted these long before, and he would always get red plants from the seeds. This plant was pure for white. And when he crossed them...
Hang on. So now we have 2 different letters for the same genetic information. Okay, so I don't know if I was taught with different letters like this. Let's keep going, because this is kind of getting interesting. You're going to get an RW flower? Interesting. So I guess maybe the point of this is that red isn't dominant and neither is white. Neither are dominant, and so when you get a red and a W, you get a pink maybe? I don't know. I feel like that is the connotation of having lowercase letters represent both characteristics, is to say that neither one is dominant, and maybe when you combine them, they just combine into a color of equal representation.
He got flowers which were all pink.
Oh, all pink. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Wow, okay. Yeah, that might be a pat on the back if I didn't just spend the past like 20 minutes saying this was a very basic high school level demonstration.
They were neither red nor white, but were a combination of the two.
Interesting, yeah, so they were all pink. Again, I wish we could actually see this on screen, but I'll take his word for it.
In other words, if the pollen came from this plant, each one of these flowers would have a red...
Please, not the tiles again. Oh gosh, like I understand it, please, we can move on.
Characteristic.
Oh, no. I hope you guys appreciate that I skip through nothing when I watch these. You guys get this edited, you guys get to see only the interesting parts, but I gotta sit through it all. Every single time he puts down letters, I gotta watch it.
And each one of them would have a characteristic for white. From the egg, that would be, wouldn't it? Then we'll, again, cross these hybrids. This is a hybrid, isn't it? Because it comes from a cross between...
Yeah, so when you cross these hybrids, again, you're going to get one flower that is all red, you're going to get 2 flowers that are red and white, and then you're going to get 1 flower that's all white again, because that's just how the math works out.
2 plants which have different characteristics. This would be the hybrid. He crossed this hybrid to produce seeds, and the seeds, when planted...
I appreciate him trying to maintain his pace of speaking while managing all of these tiles as well. Like, it's funny to hear him just give one word at a time as he's thinking about something else. Like, this is just such a different presentation style than what most YouTube videos are like nowadays. Like, nobody does long-winded, single-take science presentations like this anymore, that's for sure. Like, can you guys think of any YouTuber who does stuff like this anymore? I can't.
One red flower.
Just like this style of presentation, I don't know.
Two pinks. And one white.
Again, I think this would be a lot clearer if we weren't watching this through a black and white film. Like, I'll take your word for it that these are pink and these are red and white, but like, I can't tell that.
Then, let's see why. This pollen grain from this plant.
Again, we already know why, but yeah, let's have him explain to us why as well. This one's gonna be both ours. Oh yeah, whatever. I'm not even gonna try to explain it to you guys. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you all also know exactly what's happening. If some of you are actually learning this information for the first time, God bless you guys.
Carry a red. Could combine also with the pollen, with the egg. We'd have a pure red plant.
That is kind of interesting to think about, though, that like by the end of this channel's run, I will have taken you all through like a very typical American high school education. You know, I'm pretty sure I have enough presentations like this to really get us through like English, science, social studies, and math through these sorts of presentations. So we are like actually just getting a high school education by watching this.
This pollen grain for redness.
Yeah, you should be able to get your GED after watching the entirety of this channel. I would give you a GED. You deserve a GED after watching 1,000 of these videos. That's the goal, by the way, is 1,000.
Could combine with this characteristic of whiteness in the egg. This egg, which carries the characteristic of red, could combine with a characteristic of whiteness in the pollen grain. And the pollen grain for whiteness could combine with a white characteristic in the egg. Mendel said that this was not dominant and recessive characters, but instead...
Hang on, what's the term? What's the term he's going to use for them? They're not dominant or recessive, they are... Oh man, I don't know. I don't know the term. I know there's a term, but I just can't remember it. Oh man, that's gonna kill me because it's gonna. Oh man, let's just learn. Let's learn the term, I guess. That'll be the one thing that I learned from this program is the name for this when something isn't dominant or recessive.
Was a blend.
A blend. Oh, well, that's not really that advanced of a term. I'm pretty sure there's a more advanced term for this sort of thing happening.
There's something very important about this, because in a blend, we can always tell which is the hybrid. Those that are pink are the hybrid, because they blend red color and white color. We could say that white is a color.
It seemed like he looked at somebody when he said that. Like there are people behind the camera that he is talking to. I don't know. It seemed like he said that to somebody.
We can always tell the pure characters because they will show up. Red and red are both pure.
See, this is interesting to think in terms of like human genetics or just general genetics, you know, like some of our traits are just the mixes of our, you know, parents' traits, but other traits of ours are just one specific traits of our parents, you know, like your dad can give you a dominant eye color, but a blended hair color or, you know, whatever it is. It is interesting to think of genes blending together sometimes and then just completely dominating each other other times. You know, there is such a complex mechanism for gene display. Like the computing of your genotype into your phenotype is just such a complex ordeal. Like that terminology even is a bit more complex than this presentation, so maybe I shouldn't go that far, but I'm trying to think of this now in terms of like the total genetic equation that takes place every time a person is made.
White and white are both pure. We can't do this where we have dominant and recessive because we can't tell the hybrids from the dominant characteristic, the pure dominant, because they both look the same. We've been able to use this information that Mendel discovered to develop many new and wonderful foods to help man.
We've used this to make foods? Is that what he's arguing now? Oh, well, I guess it is called How Are New Plant Varieties Developed? Okay, that's so funny. So I really did think this was just going to be that lesson, the Punnett Square Gregor Mendel lesson. But I guess that was the foundational knowledge we needed in order to push this even further, in order to learn how we make new plant varieties. So I think that we're finally getting into like the actual question here. How are new plant varieties made?
One example is in the corn plant.
The corn plant, is that what he said? I think so. We got a bit of an audio mistake there, but I think we're talking about corn.
The farmers have long wanted to have good corn.
Yeah, you can say that for sure.
Lots of corn. And to raise as much corn as they could for the land, in the land that they had.
Oh, trust me, we raise as much corn as we possibly can in this country. I know that very much.
To do this, they had to develop and select the traits in corn that they wanted. And then,
now this is sending me back to the chicken of tomorrow. If only it was how our new animal varieties developed, I'd be able to tell you exactly how. But I guess because it's plants, we gotta keep watching.
and then to combine them so that they would have a very, very good seed corn to plant. If we had a corn plant such as this,
Are these magnets, by the way? How are these sticking to this wall? This looks like a chalkboard. I guess, were chalkboards magnetic? I guess they were, weren't they? Dang, the corn plant was so tall he needed like 2 magnets for it. That's funny. Like he couldn't have just made a long magnet. He needed 2.
excuse me,
Man, now we're getting real fancy with this magnet stuff. Like this is kind of just a fun way to teach kids this sort of lesson. It's a shame we don't have these sorts of magnets in the classroom nowadays. Or at least like they weren't in my classroom when I learned this lesson.
perhaps we can improve on this. We would want to have the plant taller. This corn is too low, and the mechanical corn pickers can't pick it up. So,
The mechanical corn pickers can't pick it up. It's a very interesting problem for them to be having at this time. You know, like they are just starting to understand the industrialization of agriculture, and we learned that the corn doesn't grow at the proper height, so we're trying to figure out a way to genetically alter the corn to grow at the proper height for our machines to harvest. You know, that's crazy.
perhaps we can make a taller plant.
Yeah, this is such a complex, like, assortment of magnets that he's dealing with now.
This is an improvement. What other thing would we want to have on our plant which would make it a better plant? Certainly one thing we would want to select for and be sure we had would be a bigger ear of corn. Perhaps we could also improve the root system. This plant could topple over in a wind because it does not have a good anchor in the roots.
That was a good save on his part.
So we could give it a better root system by selecting only those plants.
Dude, this is such a complex magnet organization right here. Like, we're even adding side magnets for the roots. That's so funny.
Which had good root systems. And the root system would be able to gather more moisture and minerals for the plant. One other characteristic which we would want to select in our plant.
What's one other characteristic that you want to select? Fast growing, maybe? I don't know, but I can't imagine how you would show that through magnets. So I don't know.
It would be a strong stalk.
Yeah, that makes more sense, actually. I know how you would show that through a magnet.
So that when this fellow,
Oh, interesting.
called the European corn borer,
The European corn borer. That's interesting because corn is from America. So, like, how is there a worm from Europe that bores into corn? I don't know. That's interesting. Like, obviously, I get invasive species and whatnot. It's just weird for something to be specialized in eating a food that it didn't evolve around, you know?
burrowed into the stalk would keep from breaking off. And instead,
This just looks like every caterpillar, by the way. Maybe that's what they're kind of insinuating, is that like the corn borer is just like any insect that wants to eat anything. Like, is a corn borer, is that a specific pest? It must be like an actual sort of worm or something. It might be a caterpillar, but like I have to imagine there's more things trying to eat corn than this as well.
would stand and produce an ear of corn. By taking these characteristics and many more, man has been able to select a better ear of corn through
Dude, it is pausing. It's killing me. I swear to God. Like, I know it's so impressive that he's doing this all in one take, but like, still, he is taking some liberties with his pauses.
combining these characters, making them pure, combining them so we finally have corn hybridization.
Oh, that was a cut. That was a cut. You could tell he definitely needed that cut. That is so funny. That's the first like noticeable cut I've seen in this program. That's like he really struggled with coming up with that term. See, it's not so easy coming up with all these science terms off the top of your head. Like I very much appreciate that I'm getting to watch this guy struggle, because boy do I struggle when I watch these and I try to come up with these science terms as well. Like I'm very glad that this guy is struggling as much as I'm struggling currently. Was that just like we didn't even know the cameras were still rolling? Like that was footage that definitely should have been cut. Like you can actually see Richard just like not even trying to present. Wow, look at this corn though. This is crazy. This is much bigger corn than even I see nowadays. Like I'm more used to the corn on the sides than this giant corn. Maybe this is the corn that we grow for like cows or something.
Here we see 3 cobs of corn. The one on each side is the parents.
The one on each side are the parents? That's crazy.
Of the one in the middle. Certainly if you were picking corn, or were a farmer, you would want to have the
Hang on, how are they parents though? Like, aren't they supposed to be the same age? Like, doesn't corn only produce one thing a year?
large ear in the middle, with more corn and larger kernels.
This is absolutely insane how big this corn cob is, like compared to its parents. I just don't know. I don't know how you get a corn cob that's literally twice the length from just one pairing, you know?
By combining the corn on each side, we were able to end up with all of the desirable characteristics which we wanted.
That really is amazing. I would like to see a breakdown of the Punnett square of this corn. Like, I actually do want to see that now. I am curious about the genetics of this corn after seeing this. Like, are both of these corns, the parent corns, are they like both heterozygous for being bigger and then they combined to make a bigger corn, or what? Like, that's what I imagine.
In this corn, and we see a tall, large cob of corn.
This could also be the thumbnail, but it doesn't read as well.
So far, we have thought that the only way we can produce a new plant is by seed. But sometimes, but very rarely, sometimes a characteristic is different from either of its parents. In other words, it inherits a characteristic which it has a characteristic which it did not inherit from either of its parents.
It has a characteristic it did not inherit from either of its parents. So now are we just talking about plain mutation, like we're actually just looking for plants that have unique new attributes? I wonder if we're talking about mutation now.
This is called a mutation.
Yeah, there we go. I guess I was right.
Let's do that again. Mutation.
Let's do that again. That's so funny. Like, he really is going at the pace of, like, 7th graders.
Is a characteristic which is not inherited from either of its parents.
Like, he's literally saying it so that we can copy down the definition in our notebooks. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the exact reason he's giving us this definition again, is so that we can write it down. That's so funny. There is going to be a test at the end of this, so you guys should be writing this down too.
One of these mutations, or changes, involved the seedless grape.
The seedless grape. You know, I love that we're learning about the seedless grape. This is definitely something I have wondered about in my own life. Like, how do we plant grapes if they don't have any seeds? Like, I don't get it. I still don't get it. Hopefully I'll learn.
A grape without seeds. Let me show you.
These grapes also look a completely different color than one another. Like, on the right, we have green grapes, and on the left, it looks like we have red grapes, or purple grapes. I call them purple grapes, but I don't know. A lot of the times they're more red.
See? There are no seeds.
Just watched him just, like, destroy a grape in front of the camera. Like, I guess we needed that in order to understand the information that he's trying to convey, but it's funny. It's just funny watching somebody just destroy a grape like that. I don't know. It's funny how complicated most of his other presentations were, but this presentation, he just had to crush up a grape, you know? Like, some are simple, some are not so simple.
But this one, crush it here, does have seeds. There's one.
See, I really hope some people are learning for the first time that grapes used to have seeds in them. Like, I feel like some people might not even be aware of that.
Can you see it?
So that does actually make this, like, kind of interesting to be learning. Like, we changed grapes to not have seeds, like, only, like, 50 or 60 years ago. Like, the ancient Romans and everything, the grapes that they grew, those all had seeds, I have to imagine. It's interesting to know how new the foods that we eat really are. Like, seedless grapes is a new form of food that didn't exist until very recently.
Now, if we don't reproduce a plant by seed.
See, that's how you know it's all one take, because he's wiping his hands off after doing that. Like, like, you can't just keep the sticky grape goo on your fingers. You have to wipe it off to keep going in this presentation.
How can that plant reproduce itself? I think you'll be able to answer that question after the next part of the lesson.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, he thinks we're able to answer that question right now. Like, I have no way to guess how a grape plant would reproduce itself without seeds. Like, I really just don't know how that would work. I mean, I know some plants reproduce through their roots or asexually, but I don't know if that's exactly what he's getting at.
Often, we can take a part of a plant.
Just propagating it, is that what he's going to do? He's just going to cut it off and then propagate it to grow more roots? Is that really how all grapes reproduce? No, right? No, that's not how all grapes reproduce. Grapes used to have seeds to reproduce. Grapes used to have seeds. This is just how we reproduce the grapes that don't have seeds, I guess.
We cut it off.
Oh, hang on. So this plant was a grape plant all along? Didn't I mention that at the beginning? What sort of plant was this? It's a grape plant? Interesting. What's interesting is I have wild grape plants growing in my backyard, and their leaves don't really look like this at all.
We would clip off the flowers.
So interesting. So you can propagate grape plants then? I guess that must be true if that's what we're seeing here.
Most of the leaves.
Dude, this guy's pretty experienced with a knife. Just based on his handling skills, like, he might have another job somewhere else.
In place, species.
All right, here's my curiosity. Does he put it in root hormone, or does he just put it in water? Do they even have root hormone back then? Because nowadays, when you try to propagate plants like this, they always tell you to dip it in this stuff called root hormone. But I don't know if they have that back then.
Piece of stem in moist sand.
Moist sand, yeah. So that's pretty much just like put it in water. Interesting. I didn't know that you could propagate grapes like this. Maybe I'll try that.
This plant will send out roots, and eventually we can replant it and have a new plant. Often we can take a large stem from this plant. This is a piece.
I feel like that would be a very fun thing to do in a classroom with kids. Like have them cut up parts of a plant and propagate it and then like bring it home or something and plant it at their own house. You know, like I feel like that is a very fun school science activity.
To stem from a plant, a great deal like this, we can take a piece of this plant.
What the heck is this? What is this? This is like a sugar beet or something. Sugar.
And cut it off.
Is it sugar cane? It kind of looks like sugar cane.
And then we must look for a bud on here. Here's one here. Just a very small little raised part of the surface. Place it on its side. Cut it lengthwise.
Interesting. Again, I kind of wish I knew what plant this actually is that we're propagating now, but this is cool. I've never seen this method of propagation before.
This bud will produce new leaves. And this part of the surface will produce roots.
Interesting. Roots will just come out of the inside of the plant. So is he just going to put it like flat onto some soil?
Let me place it in the moist sand.
Or moist sand, I guess. Yeah, you just put it face down in the wet sand. Wow, that's interesting. Again, what sort of plant is this? Is this another grape plant, just a different part of it?
Over a period of time, we could get a new plant. This is one which was planted several weeks ago. And you will notice that it has a good root system already developed.
Dang, just a few weeks ago? Like how many weeks? Like this looks like 6 weeks. I'm curious. This looks like a croton almost, or the sort of plant it is. Is it a croton? Can anyone tell what type of plant this is? This looks like a golden leaf croton or something. I know it's something like that.
Can you see these roots? This plant is ready to be planted in a flower pot.
Dude, I'm pretty sure those are crotons. I don't know, but those look like crotons to me.
We can take potting soil, place some of it in the bottom of the pot.
Dang, I love getting to see like what people used to buy potting soil in. You know, it just came in these plain plastic wrappers, which I guess is not that different than what we buy it in nowadays. Just like nowadays, you buy like ginormous bags of potting soil. But here it's funny to see it in a bag that's too small to fill anything besides one small plant pot.
Place the plant so that the crown is about an inch. This is the crown. Place it about an inch below the edge of the pot.
You know, I really do appreciate that we're just learning how to plant plants now. You know, like we got the science part of our lecture out of the way. Now we're just getting to watch like the hands-on part. And I think this is actually pretty enjoyable.
And then fill it up. Oops, my bag leaked here. Perhaps it's easier to pour it out the hole.
That's so funny that like, yeah, the bag just sprung a leak. That's so funny. Now he's just, yeah. I wonder if there's just dirt like all over this table now too.
And then, by placing a little water on it, the plant will continue to grow. You notice,
dude, I feel bad for this guy's hands. Like he has all that grape juice and now he just put his hands all in the dirt. Like he's got to have some sticky fingers.
that our soil is about an inch below the edge of the pot. This is so that we can add water. One other way, other than stems to produce plants, is by taking a leaf.
No way, you're gonna take one leaf? Maybe if it's like a succulent, like I've done that, I've proliferated through succulents before, but like just a normal plant, you're gonna take a leaf?
This is an African violet.
An African violet? Oh, is it gonna be a succulent? Let's see.
Your mother may have them at home. We took a leaf from it,
So you can just cut off a leaf. Is this a succulent? It looks like a succulent, even in this normal photography. Okay, interesting. So these kind of are succulents, I guess. Yeah, that looks like a succulent leaf.
Placed it in the damp or moist soil.
What's so funny is I am currently proliferating a whole bunch of sedum right now in my backyard. Like there is a whole tray of sedum that I've cut from a plant that is now growing its own roots. Very similar to what he's doing right here. I love the parallels between this and my real life.
It would eventually grow roots and produce another plant. Let's review briefly what we have done today.
Let's review briefly. All right, so that was pretty much the entire lesson. We just learned like the genetics of plants, and now we learned how to propagate plants. That's funny because how are new plant varieties developed and proliferated? Well, I guess we kind of learned that. I really thought this would be like, how do we invent like new tomatoes for market or something? But I guess this is a more basic explanation of plant genetics.
We have found that plants...
Are we really going to review every piece of information that we learned already in this program, though? That would be funny.
Have two parts, a male part and the female part. The male part will produce pollen, which combines with the egg to produce a seed. We can have two
Dude, where's the focus, man? Pull the focus.
forms of fertilization. Cross-fertilization, where the pollen comes from another plant, or self-fertilization, where the pollen comes from the same flower. We have also found that Mendel, studying some of the plants in his garden, found that there were dominant characteristics.
Yeah, so he is really just recapping this whole episode now. So I feel like we can skip this, but I don't skip anything. So let's just keep watching.
What are dominant characteristics? They are a characteristic which covers or masks the other characteristic, which is recessive.
Dude, there was another cut, but that's so weird because that cut to another camera. So does he have two cameras on him at all times and he actually can cut between them? I'm so curious. I'm so curious about like the production that went behind this.
When we cross two plants having different characters, what are they called? It's a hybrid, isn't it?
Oh, he was asking us. Yeah, did you guys answer him? You better have, because that was part of the test.
Crossing two plants having different characteristics is a hybrid.
All right, yeah, we just had a bit of an issue there, but we're back. We're back with the rest of it. We got 2 minutes left. Can we make it through the rest of these 2 minutes?
They are a characteristic which covers or masks the other characteristic, which is recessive.
Hang on, pause. Oh no, okay, I get what he's saying. So yeah, the thing that covers the recessive is the dominant. That I kind of got confused by what he was saying.
But we found that sometimes we don't have dominant and recessive characteristics in the plant. In this case, we may have a blend.
A blend. Is there a different word for a blend? I can't come up with one, but I'm pretty sure there's an actual like term for this now. I don't know. I can't come up with it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. Somebody in the comments, let me know what else you would call a blended combination of genes.
Such was the case with 4 o'clock flowers, where red and white flowers, when crossed, the seeds would produce pink.
Oh, you know, I actually think I have some 4 o'clocks. Now that he says it, yeah, I think I do. I think my girlfriend bought some seeds for 4 o'clocks from George Washington's house when she went to D.C. for her school trip. I'm pretty sure that's what I have the 4 o'clocks from. I am growing George Washington's 4 o'clocks. Like they are the 4 o'clock. They're seeds from the 4 o'clocks that George Washington brought from Mount Vernon. So I don't know. That's very unrelated to what we're learning about, but I'm just realizing there's a connection there.
We also found that plants which differ from either of the parents have a characteristic which is different. It's called a mutation, and that we can reproduce mutations by vegetative reproduction.
Oh, interesting. I didn't really understand the reason behind the mutation talk earlier, but now I understand. If something mutates and we can't plant its seeds, we can still proliferate it through propagation. Interesting. All right, that makes a lot more sense now, too.
Now, can you tell me what characteristics have you inherited?
Oh, that's the test, guys. What characteristics have you inherited? That's the final question, right? That's the test. What characteristics have you guys inherited? Science, grade 7, no way. I totally called that. I said grade 7, wow. Oh no, grade 8. That's funny that I think I learned this in 8th grade rather than 7th grade, because that means we were really teaching our 7th graders some advanced stuff back then. I don't know, I'm impressed by that actually. Wow, 7th grade.
You have been viewing Science Grade 7, a telecourse presented by the Minneapolis Public Schools.
A telecourse provided by the Minneapolis Public Schools. Interesting. So this was specifically for the Minneapolis Public School system.
Your teacher today has been Richard F. Rumppe.
Richard F. Rumppe. Oh, Rumppe. I thought it was Rump, but Richard F. Rumppe. Dick Rump. Okay, interesting.
Subject area consultant supervised the planning of each series.
Consultant Dr. J. Hervey Schutz. Interesting name as well, Hervey Schutz.
Which is authorized by the Advisory Committee on Educational Television.
Advisory Committee on Educational Television. See, even the fact that that existed, like, that's worth knowing, you know?
Teams of teachers assist in the planning and evaluating of the various lessons presented. Series are produced through the radio television department of the Minneapolis.
Producer Clarissa Sund. You know, I will say there are a lot of women in these credits. Like, shout out to Richard Rumppe or whoever, you know, made this. I guess Clarissa, right? Shout out to Clarissa for being an equal opportunities provider, I guess.
Public School. Directed by Louis House.
Minneapolis Public Schools. Is there any old-timers from the Minneapolis area that actually watched these programs in your public school? I would love to learn that. I would love to hear from somebody who actually learned from these programs. That's what I found most interesting about this, is this lesson might still be affecting somebody's brain somewhere. You know, like somebody learned this and then went on to become a doctor somewhere. Like that did happen. Like at least one person saw this and then became a doctor. You know, like I don't want to bet on it, but I'm pretty sure that's true. So I find it so fascinating to actually see like the lesson in its entirety that we were giving to high school students, or not high school students, middle school students during this time. Like it's so fascinating to see the similarities between these lessons and the lessons that I was taught, and the differences, or at least the differences in like the focus of the lesson. Like I don't think I was actually ever taught the application of proliferating plants, you know? Like I was definitely taught the Punnett square, the genetics, but I was definitely not taught how to cut, you know, leaves off of plants and to have them grow into new plants. That was definitely something that was not shown to me in school at all. So it's interesting that they were showing kids during this time how to proliferate plants. You have to understand that like during this time, a lot of the kids that they were teaching were just going to become farmers. So it made a lot more sense to teach kids lessons that actually applied to farming. Like, all right, here's how to make plants with specific genetics, you know, like that's actually a very good lesson to be teaching future farmers, you know, like you have to understand the application of the lessons here. And it's just interesting to think that I was not taught that, because in today's day and age, most kids are not going to become farmers. So you don't really need to teach me how to proliferate plants. But you did have more reason to teach kids back then those sorts of lessons, because they might have actually been doing that to start their own farms. So that's another interesting difference between then and now. For me, this was a lot more review than it was learning stuff. I guess I learned a few new things, but I wouldn't say this was like an entirely new subject that I learned from today. Like this really was just a review, it felt like. But I hope you guys learned something new, or at least I hope you guys reinforced your bio knowledge as well. I feel like that's what this was. This was reinforcing the lessons that I learned a very long time ago. But I hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you did and you'd like to help support this channel, you can follow the link in the description that'll take you over to the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive is where I get all these old programs from. So if you want to support me, donate to them. And with that, I think we're ready to cut to black.